Can you hear me? What a fantastic crowd we have out here today. We must have a special visitor here. It's a privilege to welcome you to today's news conference. My name is Heidi Webb. I'm the Port Director and CEO of Port Miami. Port Miami is a global gateway known worldwide as the cruise capital of the world and the cargo gateway of the Americas. We are honored to have U.S. Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg here at our port, who actually toured to see the government's infrastructure and investments taking place right here at our port. It's amazing to watch how that money really does make a big difference. Thank you. The success of the Port of Miami is greatly tied to the growth in Miami-Dade County as a global tourism hub, as well as an economic powerhouse for trade and commerce. The jobs that are created locally here from the business is just incredible. It's insurmountable. Not only are we taking the dollars, but we're creating new jobs. We would not be here today without the strong leadership and partnership from our federal, from our state, our local government, and the many partners that are here today. I just want to recognize a few of the folks that are here in the audience today. And we'll save our applause till the end, but we have U.S. Customs and Border Protection. We have the United States Coast Guard here today, the Florida Department of Transportation, the Biscayne Bay Pilots, the ILA, the Longshoremen, the Miami-Dade County departments that include aviation, fire, police, and transit, and of course your Seaport team. And we would not be here today without a big thank you to our Board of County Commissioners that's represented by Chairman Oliver Gilbert and the Chairwoman of the Ports Committee, Daniela Cohen-Higgins. To start us off today, I want to introduce a true Miami-Dade County leader whose administration is built on future-ready, inclusive, a stronger and resilient community. Mayor Daniela Levine Cava was elected as the first woman mayor here in Miami-Dade County in November of 2020, following a 40-year service to the South Florida community. As mayor, she oversees a metropolitan government with nearly 30,000 employees, serving 3 million residents and managing a budget of about $11.7 billion. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome your Mayor of Miami-Dade County, Mayor Daniela Levine Cava.
Let's give it up for our first woman port director, Heidi Webb. Thank you so much, Heidi, for a wonderful introduction to the day. Buenos dias. Bonjour. I'm your Miami-Dade County Mayor, Daniela Levine Cava. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I want to briefly pause and acknowledge what's happening in the Middle East. We all know that in the early hours, a little over a week ago, October 7th, we woke up to the devastating news that Hamas terrorists had attacked Israel. And we've witnessed unimaginable acts that have been waged against women, children, and the elderly, and we've learned about the hostages that were taken. I'm so heartbroken, as I know we all are, about those who've lost loved ones to these horrific acts of terror and senseless violence, and for all of the families of the Americans killed, and also those who are confirmed to be captured. And I want to commend our national and world leaders for coming together to take a united stand for Israel and also to protect innocent lives throughout the region in a growing humanitarian crisis. And together we must work to create a world free of violence and a world where we can build peace among nations and a more tolerant, inclusive community, just like we're doing right here at home in Miami-Dade County. So thank you to my brothers and sisters for standing strong. And we are all so very honored to have with us Secretary Buttigieg, who's visiting us here in Miami-Dade County. He's highlighting our world-class infrastructure, much of it thanks to the bipartisan infrastructure law, which I had the privilege to attend the signing ceremony along with the Secretary a year ago. And also thanks to the Biden administration for leadership, without which so much of this would not be possible. And I want to recognize our elected officials. As has been said already, we have our Florida state representatives and state senators who've worked so hard on these issues as well. Our Board of County Commissioner Chairman, Oliver Gilbert. We have our wonderful commissioner of my former district, Danielle Cohn-Higgins, and the members of the school board. We have members of the school board here? Ah, look at you, Luisa Santos from the school board. Thank you, Luisa, for being with us. That is great. And so many leaders from across our county. And we want to thank our Congresswoman, Frederica Wilson, who is so very upset not to be with us here today. We were in frequent contact about this, and of course, Congress can't find itself a leader, so she has to stay up there to help them find one. So we want to thank her for serving as our constant champion in Washington, D.C., and for what she's done also to make all of this possible. So the Secretary's visit comes at a time when we are laser focused on building a resilient and future-ready Miami-Dade County and infrastructure. Here in Miami-Dade, we are investing in today while also building for tomorrow. Estamos invirtiendo hoy y construyendo para mañana. I'm very, very proud that under my administration, we've pulled down close to $1 billion. That's new dollars in infrastructure funds. Estoy muy orgulloso de que bajo mi administración hemos conseguido cerca de $1,000 millones para la infraestructura, tanto del gobierno federal como del estatal. And we're making critical infrastructure improvements across the board. We're throughout our public transit system, our world-class airport and seaport, and we're in the midst of exciting public-private partnerships that have accelerated mobility in Miami-Dade and across Florida. Tenemos alianzas entre el sector público y el sector privado que han acelerado la movilidad en Miami-Dade y en toda la Florida. Gracias. Tri-Rail is coming downtown. And Brightline just recently expanded to Orlando, and I saw that our secretary had a chance to ride Brightline service. Fast, convenient, beautiful. We're accelerating our timeline to build the Metro Rail north to County Line Road. Estamos acelerando la expansión de nuestro metro hacia el norte with neighborhood stops in between, a long-awaited priority, a promise that was made to the people. And no one has been more vocal about that than our chairman, Oliver Gilbert. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. It's a long-awaited priority. And we're working to bring much-needed commuter rail, the Northeast Corridor, online. And I want to acknowledge our FEC partners who are with us here, who actually own that track. And thank you so much, FEC, for opening the doorway to us. We're in construction on our South Dade Bus Rapid Transit Way, which will connect the south end of our Metro Rail all the way down to Florida City. So Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, we're on our way. Yay. That's where I live, so very excited, long awaited, with a lot of federal support. Okay. And we're very, very proud that our international airport, MIA, is now the 8th busiest airport in the world. In the world. And the 14th busiest, oh, excuse me. It says here 8th busiest in the US, but I think it's in the world. Where's Ralph? Where is it? Is it 8th in the world? I'm going for it. 8th in the world. Okay. And we're still growing. Every month we're breaking new records. La verdad es que nuestro aeropuerto sigue creciendo y a un ritmo impresionante. So thanks to the strong partnership with the Department of Transportation, our county is modernizing our airport to keep pace with constant demand. Everybody wants to come here. MIA had its busiest year in both passenger and cargo traffic in 2022, with more than 50 million passengers for the first time ever and nearly 2.8 million tons of cargo. So really incredible during the pandemic how we grew. And as we break new records each year, we're also modernizing each touch point. So for example, from the airplane cabin to the airplane curb. Mientras rompemos nuevos récords cada año, seguimos modernizando el aeropuerto de punta a punta para mejorar la experiencia de nuestros pasajeros desde la entrada hasta el avión. But on this gorgeous morning, I can think of no better place to be than Port Miami. It's pretty incredible. This is one of our most vital economic engines, along with the airport, surrounded by incredible natural beauty. We're highlighting the groundbreaking work that is happening thanks to federal investment. No hay mejor lugar que Port Miami para resaltar todos los proyectos de nuestro condado gracias a los fondos federales. So Port Miami's first RAISE grant in 2022 was for $16 million. It's being used for our port's net zero program. This visionary program is converting our cargo movement to a carbon neutral operation from Port Miami's channel to its final distribution site, helping us to create a resilient supply chain and reduce emissions. El programa Net Zero nos ayudará a crear una cadena de suministro más sostenible y a reducir emisiones. In 2023, the port received a second RAISE grant. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. He called me on this one. I got a personal call for $5 million to complete portions of its master plan, accelerating electrification, reimagining stormwater resilience, and establishing a port-wide emissions baseline, all the while creating good-paying jobs of the future right here. Thank you to our working men and women. Thank you. Los fondos del programa RAISE nos ayudarán a desarrollar una economía verde, creando empleos bien pagados para nuestros residentes. I'm extremely proud that since I became mayor almost 3 years ago, the county has embarked on a historic partnership to bring shore power, or cold ironing, to Port Miami in collaboration with our cruise companies and Florida Power and Light. Upon completion, shore power will be available at 5 cruise terminals. Thank you. Thank you. 5 cruise terminals. And they're all competing to be first. with the ability to plug in 3 ships at a time, allowing vessels to burn off their primary engines while docked, lowering emissions across the port. No more bellowing black smoke. So I want to thank President Biden, Vice President Harris, our congressional delegation, Secretary Buttigieg, for supporting our seaport and helping to grow our green economy. Quiero agradecer al presidente Biden, la vicepresidente Harris, a nuestra delegación del Congreso y al secretario Buttigieg para apoyar a nuestro puerto y ayudar a hacer crecer nuestra economía verde. Here in the cruise capital of the world, in a county nestled between the blue waters of Biscayne Bay and Everglades National Parks, the only county in the country with 2 national parks. And I'm now on the National Park System Advisory Board. I take a special pride in that. We know that our environment is our economy, and more resilient infrastructure is the key to our long-term prosperity. And hand in hand with our federal, local, and state partners, we're building a stronger, more resilient, future-ready Miami-Dade for generations to come, junto a nuestros aliados locales, estatales y federales. Estamos construyendo un Miami-Dade más fuerte y preparando para el futuro. Our next speaker is my friend and chairman of our Miami-Dade Board of County Commissioners, Oliver Gilbert. Y ahora vamos a escuchar las palabras de mi amigo y presidente de la Junta de Comisionados del Condado de Miami-Dade, Oliver Gilbert. He was born and raised in the city of Miami Gardens. It wasn't a city then, but you helped make it so. And we're so sad that the founding mayor, Shirley Gibson, left us to go to a better place this week. Shirley Gibson. Let's acknowledge and remember an incredible woman, a personal friend and mentor of mine, and who definitely showed the way how to do cities right. And right behind her was this wonderful man, Oliver Gilbert. He's a proud graduate of Florida A&M University. He earned his Bachelor of Arts in Criminal Justice, and then he earned his Juris Doctorate with honors from the University of Miami. And he knew public service was his calling. Every time he serves us on the dais as the chair, we see his expertise and diplomacy in action. He previously served as the mayor of Miami Gardens, but he is committed to pouring into the community everything that it is today and more so. So thank you to him, thank you to everyone, and thank you to our workers, especially our ILA brothers and sisters, for being here. And now, Mr. Chairman, please join me on the stage. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, it's a beautiful day in sunny South Florida. Good morning, everyone. First, to our wonderful mayor, our extraordinary leader. She is not, listen, you all give her another round of applause. I don't know whether we're the 8th busiest in the world, but if she said we are, we are. We're going to pass a resolution about that next week. We're officially, we don't care what anybody else says. We're 8th. Mr. Secretary, I've known you since you were a mayor. And so we were mayors together. And so I appreciate you being here. And I appreciate the fact that you have consistently been exactly who you are, a champion for people, a champion for innovation, a champion for what we can do together. That's important. When we were sitting there and you said, you don't get crowds like this. Look, when you stand here and you see that, it's really amazing, but it's kind of a portrait of what Miami-Dade County is. We're organized labor and business working together. We're the airport and the seaport, understanding that we need them both to be strong. We're county government working with the state government, the federal government, understanding that if we actually pool all our resources, our efforts, our energy, our imagination, we can actually build America back better. We can do that. That's what we're doing right here in Miami-Dade County. You know, it really is important to note that while we're standing on the port, and we'll talk about cargo, and we'll talk about rail, I don't think about the port. I don't just think about the port. I don't just think about the workers who are here. You all are wonderful, but the impact of what's happening here today, the impact of your investment, is so much more. The impact of your investment we've felt in places like South Carolina and North Carolina, because goods will come through here, or goods will come from there to go to South and Central America. It'll be felt by how we expand trade in places like Africa. It'll be felt in those ways. In that way, you actually create jobs and economic mobility and economic movement, not just in Miami-Dade County. An investment in us is not an investment in us. An investment in us is an investment in America, because that's what it does. It makes the American economy stronger, and I'm so happy that you're here. I'm happy for all the money you all gave us. The mayor told me it was my job, because my daddy was a pastor, to pass the plate and say, if you want to give us some more money, we don't say no. And this is what we can promise you. We can promise you, I don't have the mayor's Spanish, but we can promise you, siempre juntos, always together. We will always do it together. We will build back better for this community and every other community together. You will have a partner in us, because we understand that you don't operate in Washington for Washington's sake. You operate in Washington the same way we operate in Miami-Dade County for all of our sake. This is what we do together. I appreciate your visit, and please, any money, feel free to leave your checkbook. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next speaker is Joe Capo. Joe Capo is part of the International Longshoremen 1922, and he's here today representing both 1922 and 1416. Thank you, Joe.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Secretary, first time visit in Port of Miami? First time? First time visit. First time women mayor. First time port director. First time speech. Be ready. Any ILA people here? Make some noise. Welcome all. Welcome to our beautiful house, our beautiful home, the Port of Miami. What a beautiful place. What a beautiful weather we've been blessed with today, and obviously with all of you. I stand here before you representing the workforce of the Port of Miami, the ILA, longshoremen, longshore women, mechanics, checkers, and all the staff of this beautiful Port of Miami County. You've heard this number, $16 million. Quite a bit. Thank you, sir. Awarded for the RAISE grant. Is going to raise the roof of this port, because it's going to make us bigger, leaner, greener, stronger, and with a lot more work. And I'm going to just touch a few points of that. The impact is the intermodal, just a few, intermodal rail expansion, more trains, more work, more jobs. 3 new electric rubber tire gantries, more ships, more work, more job. We got to be excited. Cargo gate improvements, more containers in and out, more work, more jobs. We're really excited. Obviously, the last one, the shore power, the cruise shore power, more ships, more passengers, more work, more money. So we're really excited for the opportunity and benefits for our labor workforce, the ILA. I want to thank everyone here from the ILA. And I just want to briefly share with everybody, 42 years ago when I came in here, there was one road, no gantries, a lot of dust, no containers. It's been a long time. It's been a long time. But we are now almost presently going to be cleaner, like I said, greener, and more efficient with no emissions. We already breathed all of that, longshoremen. We already took that out already. But it's over soon. And lastly, while I was preparing for this speech today, I ran across this quote, and I'm going to read it. It says, "The most powerful transportation secretary ever." So that's talking about you, sir, Mr. Secretary, so please put your hands together. In the history of the United States. So I guess together with our fierce women leaders, Port Director Heidi, Mayor, Madam Mayor, as I like to call you, Madam Mayor LaCava, and you as a friend, the port is very, very bright. Thank you very much. God bless, and have a safe trip home. Thank you.
He says it wasn't really his first speech. We could tell. That was a great speech. Go. Excellent, excellent. Well, this is now a role that was supposed to be played by our Congresswoman. So it's with great humility and also pride that I have the honor to introduce our secretary. I know we're the build-up, right? We're doing a lot before we get to hear from the most powerful transportation secretary ever. Yeah, there. Of the world, I would say. Of the world. Let's be clear. Well, ahora vamos a escuchar de nuestro invitado distinguido, el secretario de Transporte de los Estados Unidos, Pete Buttigieg, lo más poderoso del mundo. Secretary Buttigieg's journey has been nothing short of remarkable. From his early days as the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, to now serving at the helm of the U.S. Department of Transportation, he has consistently demonstrated an extraordinary ability to address complex national challenges with innovative solutions. I'm remembering some of his answers during those debates. They were incredible, Mr. Secretary. Amazing. Desde sus primeros días como alcalde de South Bend, Indiana, el secretario Buttigieg ha demostrado una capacidad extraordinaria para comprender los problemas locales y aportar soluciones innovadoras. As a mayor myself, I'm acutely aware of the critical importance of transportation in connecting people to opportunity, fostering economic growth, and ensuring the well-being of our residents. And Secretary Buttigieg shares this vision. He's at the forefront of initiatives aimed at modernizing our nation's infrastructure. Él comparte esta visión y ha estado al frente de iniciativas para modernizar la infraestructura de transporte de nuestra nación. Secretary, your dedication to building bridges, both metaphorical and literal, inspires us all. We look forward to forging a future where transportation is not just a means of getting from point A to point B, but a catalyst for economic prosperity, environmental sustainability, and social equity. Please join me in extending a very, very warm, beautiful Miami-Dade welcome to our Secretary, Pete Buttigieg. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You all know how to make a transportation secretary feel welcome and powerful. But of course, we're here to celebrate the power not of any one official, but of the transportation sector, and the power of transportation to make people better off, and the power of what can happen when a local vision and local leadership and local players come together in partnership with federal government led by President Biden. It is exactly why we work so hard to get these infrastructure dollars made available and why we're so proud and excited to be here. Like the mayor, I want to start by acknowledging that the pain of what is happening in the Middle East is close to home for so many in this area and in this community. That we stand with our friends and our allies, and that we stand in unequivocal condemnation of the Hamas terrorist attack and of any targeting of civilians. And I'm glad that our president is demonstrating American leadership right now in the most challenging of circumstances, working to make sure that we show our resolve and leading the international community in expressing that support for the legitimate aspirations of all people, including all civilians, all Israeli and Palestinian civilians, stands alongside the moral certainty that civilians should never be put in harm's way through terrorist attacks. I recognize how much that pain is felt by so many here. So many things going on in our country that are disorienting and troubling right here at home, like the fact that we are still waiting to see word on getting a functional House of Representatives. And yet we know that if we take care of the basics, if we take care of the fundamentals, we will have a better life for all of us working from the ground up. And that begins at the local level. I want to acknowledge and thank Representative Wilson. I know that she had very much hoped to be here. She is doing the people's business in Washington, D.C., but I don't want to miss the chance to emphasize that all of this is possible because of the legislation that Representative Federico Wilson and a whole bunch of other House representatives and senators, and I would add a handful of Republicans who were willing to cross the aisle and work with Democrats and work with President Biden to get this done, made this happen. A piece of legislation that was described half a dozen times while we were fighting to get it done as dead. But we got it done because America needed it. And with us were leading local voices like Mayor Daniela Levine Cava, who was with us not just when we celebrated the president signing the bill, but when we needed those local leading voices to explain why these improvements were so necessary. So thank you for being with us before and since that effort and that celebration. So glad to be reunited with my friend Oliver Gilbert, like me, a former mayor, but the mayor mentality never leaves you. Thank you for your leadership, for that of all of the elected officials who are here. Thank you to the Port, to Director Heidi Webb, and to everybody here for your extraordinary work, including the commitment to resiliency that we share. And I'll have more to say about this in a little bit, but thank you so much to the workers of the ILA and all of the workers here who are what literally keeps America moving and keeps this port in business. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I grew up on a different coast. The banks of the St. Joseph River in northern Indiana look a little bit different from Port Miami. But both places remind us that one of the great blessings that has made America is access to waterways and the prosperity and the commerce and the possibility that comes with it. But of course, just being physically close to a shoreline or a coastline isn't enough. And Miami's history gives us a great example of recognizing that it's what you do with that opportunity. It was the decision to dredge a shipping channel and extend the rail line here in the late 1800s, and then to construct this new port by connecting multiple land spans here in 1960 that helped make Miami the global center that we know it to be today. Our predecessors understood the importance of supply chains, and they adapted the terrain to be able to get goods to and from this city and this area, which then enabled generations of economic opportunity. So as we look to the supply chain needs and the challenges of our time, we are not just sitting around with what we've inherited and resting with that. We are taking things to the next level. So I'm thankful for this opportunity, not just to highlight the good work going on here and to remind Port Miami and the communities in and around Miami of your importance, but to talk a little bit about how far we've come with our supply chains, where we are now, and what we've got to do to strengthen them and get ready for the future. If you think about it, it was just 2 years ago, October of 2021, that many a cable news host was breathlessly proclaiming that Christmas was going to be canceled. That's how dire our supply chains looked like they were. We were paying more, we were waiting longer. On the West Coast, 100 ships were bearing down on those ports, and every area of our supply chain, from trucks and warehousing to ports, was under strain. But Christmas was not canceled. Matter of fact, after all of the work that we did, we saw an all-time record high in the throughput of goods through America's ports by the end of that year. How did that happen? A lot of work from the administration for sure. President Biden brought together players from across the supply chain to address some of the biggest disruptions. We built temporary inland container yards in places from Savannah to Oakland. We helped ports like LA and Long Beach expand operations. We partnered on ways to make sure the shippers got a little motivation to move more quickly with a fee structure to encourage them to do that. And above all, the workers who have been working day in, day out, who don't exactly have the option of coming in on Zoom or delivering these goods by working from home, worked in a way that saw to it that people received about 99% of their packages on time or with minimal delays from major shippers. And again, we had record cargo movements in 2021 and then in 2022. So thank you to everyone who was a part of that. Importantly, this matters even to people who don't work in transportation every day, don't think about transportation any day, because it is a big part of one of the struggles that is on all of our minds, which is the struggle to keep prices down, the fight against inflation. Economists think that one of the reasons why inflation is down about 2/3 from last year is the work that has been done to reduce shipping costs. Pacific shipping rates are down 80% from their peak. Now, there's a lot more work being done to bring costs down. It's a top priority of this administration. And it's why you see us doing everything from going after actors who are raising prices through anti-competitive corporate behavior, to why we have acted to make sure that seniors on Medicare are now paying $35 a month instead of $400 a month for insulin. And I want to emphasize reducing costs is part of what you're doing here too. It is a big part of why we are investing in the long-term strength of our supply chains, because when goods move more efficiently, we see that reflected in prices at the store. That is part of the importance of what you're doing right here at Port Miami. And that brings me to your projects. I want you to know these were extraordinarily competitive processes. Even with the fantastic resources available under President Biden's plan, we are not able to say yes to most of the applications that come in. But these projects rose to the top. And that is why we are so proud to be here to formally celebrate 2 major Biden-Harris administration grants to expand and strengthen Port Miami. We're going to work together to expand the speed and the capacity of cargo moving through this port, helping to add 2 new tracks to the on-port rail yard, which will translate to 87,000 containers of additional rail capacity per year. We'll fix a major truck bottleneck, helping to modernize the cargo gate system. The point is not just to get America's supply chains to what they looked like before the pandemic, which was fine on a good day, but too often not able to handle a disruption. Our goal is to strengthen these supply chains and bring more of them home to America, so that they are not just fair weather supply chains, but ones that can withstand all of the threats they face. Which brings me to the other great challenge we are facing right now, especially for supply chains, and that is the extreme weather brought about by climate change. Even the terrible disruptions we all lived through in the pandemic might pale in comparison to what climate change would cause if we do not act to protect ourselves from things that are unfolding all around us. And Miami knows the stakes better than most. Sunny day flooding, blue sky flooding in this city now happens 4 times more often than it did in 2006, which means if left unchecked, it will flood our supply chains too. And we're seeing this everywhere in the country. Rail lines in Texas are being flooded out. The Mississippi River got so low they had to halt barge traffic. Mudslides closed down a major freight highway in Colorado. Wildfires closed freight railroads in California. Those are just a few examples of what we have seen in recent years. And it's accelerating. So what are we going to do about it? Well, the projects that you are working on here with backing from our administration helps show the way. Because in addition to increasing Port Miami's cargo capacity, these are projects that will also make the port more resilient against rising sea levels from climate change by strengthening stormwater management systems. And only a mayor knows just how beautiful a stormwater management system can be. And not only are our supply chains impacted by climate change, we have to be part of the solution to climate change. Reducing the amount of carbon pollution created at this port with things like electric gantry trains and reduced truck congestion means less greenhouse gas emissions, and it means cleaner air for everybody who lives right around this port. And this isn't just about all the things that could go wrong if we allow these problems to accelerate. It's about the opportunity we're unleashing. It is time right here, right now in the transportation sector to break the old false choice between resilience, climate work, and jobs, and recognize the opportunity to support and create more good-paying jobs through this action on resilience and climate. Whether it's construction workers doing the modernization of the infrastructure, workers manufacturing the materials and the low-carbon equipment being used in these projects, like the electric cranes that will soon be operating in more and more ports in this country, or the ways that we can protect good jobs in America. I'm thinking about American workers who make vehicles that are exported to the world through this very port and who depend on this port operating smoothly to fulfill those orders so more of our goods go overseas and the funds come here home instead of the other way around. I know a lot of this seems very commonsensical because a fire or a flood, or for that matter, inflation doesn't pick out Republican or Democrat homes or businesses to hurt. And yet, we do see in Washington and in some state capitals still a denial that these issues are real and urgent. I think there are real costs to some of the misinformation that is coming from some voices, especially in Washington, who are telling you not to believe your own eyes, not to believe your own insurance bill. When they do that, it reduces trust in our institutions at a time when trust is already so low. Just last month, some extreme Republicans in the House of Representatives voted to cut funding for supply chain infrastructure improvements like ones that we're making here by hundreds of millions of dollars a year. If we want to keep inflation low for the long term, we cannot afford to be content with what we have. We have to improve. We have to invest. We have to build. We have to grow. This is the wrong time to stop and the right time to do more than we ever have. And we are proud to work with you and ready always to work across jurisdictional lines, across state lines, across party lines to make that happen. And that's what it's going to take. I'm excited about the infrastructure decade that we are building together. It wasn't that long ago that Infrastructure Week was a punchline in Washington. Now, it is truly the beginning of an infrastructure decade. I have seen the improvements in communities, large and small. I've seen them on roads and bridges, trains and transit, airports and ports like this one. And I think just like school children today read about the New Deal in the aftermath of the Great Depression, kids one day are going to be reading about the big deal of what we got done together in places like Port Miami and around the country. So I want to thank and congratulate you for this good work. I want to thank you for the very warm welcome and urge you in your way. And because I need to learn how the mayor does the integrated Spanish approach. Until I learn how to do that, I'm going to do just a little summary for our Spanish language speaking friends, attendees, and media. Estamos orgullosos de estar aquí en Puerto de Miami para hablar del progreso y futuro de cadenas de suministro de Estados Unidos. La administración de Biden trabajó junto con los puertos, los trabajadores y otros para concentrarse en las mayores interrupciones causadas por COVID y en el 2021 y 2022 los puertos de Estados Unidos transportaron suministros y candidatos a nivel récord. La inflación ha bajado y aproximadamente de 2/3 comparado al año pasado y economistas creen que gran parte de esto se debe a nuestro trabajo y nuestro enfoque en las cadenas de suministro. Tenemos mucho trabajo para hacer que los costos sigan reduciendo y esta es parte de la razón por la que estamos invirtiendo en fortalecer nuestras cadenas de suministro, como aquí en Puerto Miami. Estamos muy orgullosos. Me emociona estar aquí para celebrar formalmente 2 subvenciones de la administración Biden-Harris para ampliar y fortalecer el Puerto Miami. La expansión de la terminal de ferrocarriles y la modernización de la puerta para camiones de carga aumentarán la velocidad y la capacidad del movimiento de carga en este puerto. También estamos fortaleciendo nuestras futuras cadenas de suministro, incluyendo la protección contra las condiciones de clima extremo causada por el cambio climático que actualmente está causando interrupciones en cadenas de suministro. El proyecto aquí, el puerto Miami, ayudará a fortalecer el puerto contra el aumento del nivel de mar. Sabemos que nuestra economía depende de nuestras cadenas de suministro. Hoy es un gran día y es parte de un esfuerzo mayor del presidente Biden para fortalecer la infraestructura de Estados Unidos aquí y en todo el país, y estamos muy orgullosos de trabajar junto con Miami. And with that, let me one more time, and with some punctuation from our supply chains in action, thank everybody for your continued great work. You've got a lot to celebrate and be proud of here in Miami. Thank you. I love it. I love it. All right. This way for the... Great.
Hey everyone, thank you for coming. We have some buses in the back. We're asking that the media head over here for a quick press gaggle. Thank you so much.